Welcome to my podcast, What the Fuck, Spirit. If you made it past that name, this is going to be the podcast for you. This is going to be a no holds barred, no bullshit, open and honest conversation with Maria Leggett, and that's me, about all things spiritual. It's time to begin talking in an open and honest way about what spirituality is and what it is not. We're going to discuss all things woo-woo, witchcraft, spiritual, queer spirituality, medium versus psychic, energy healing, light work, shadow work, and any other bullshit that people want you to believe because it keeps them comfortable. It is time for you to grow. Let's go. In my last episode, I talked about being your authentic self, but I didn't really go down into being your authentic self. And I had to think about why didn't I do that? Probably because of the, squirrel thing that I have going on, the ADHD thing. When you are moving through the world, being raised by parents who didn't know themselves, and they didn't know themselves because their parents didn't know themselves, trauma just continues to get passed down through families over and over and over. And this is a conversation that I've actually had with my own mom. And I tell my mom, listen, you were a better mom than your mom. And I was a better mom than you. And my children are amazing parents compared to me. So we heal the trauma as we move through the world, right? I wish the kind of peace that I have in my heart right now, I had had while I was raising my children, and I would have been a much different mother. And my children deserve to have had that much different mother, except I wasn't in a place to be able to be that mom. And so what does it mean to be yourself? So one of the things that I try to describe to my clients, and I've seen this when I'm doing spiritual mentoring or spiritual life coaching, whatever you want to call it, Spirit shows it to me as like a rope, right? And we know that it takes several different pieces of rope to create a rope, and they're all twisted and tied together. So I want you to think of a rope that has so many different pieces to it, okay? So we have the piece that comes from great-grandparents on mom's side, great-grandparents on dad's side. Then we have dad's rope. Then we have mom's rope. And then we have you. All of these pieces come together to form this big, thick cord that created you. And in your upbringing, you got pieces of dad's upbringing, pieces of mom's upbringing, even if that means that they abandoned you. That was part of their not being around. Part of their upbringing was because of the way they were treated. And I talk about this, and now that my dad has passed away, I can talk about this a little more openly because I was always afraid to talk about it while he was still alive. I felt very abandoned by my father when I was a kid. And I mean, massively abandoned, as in I never saw him. He and my mother got married and divorced twice. They were going to get married a third time, believe it or not. And this was all before I was 9 years old. And in watching him come and go, he finally just decided to stay away. He said, he gave me his reasoning for why he stayed away. I've heard my mom's reasoning. And what it all boils down to, it doesn't matter. He made the fucking choice to stay away. So I swear all my rambling is going to account for something. So my dad, the reason why he abandoned me, and I actually talked to him about this right before he passed away, because I needed to know. I needed him to acknowledge that he had ignored me for most of my life. We tried to have a relationship when I was an adult, and he would just say or do things that were so far out of what my reality was. And I don't mean like he was mentally ill. That's not it at all. I just mean my reality and his reality didn't match. Our stories didn't match by any stretch of the imagination. And I would try to explain to him, no, this is what happened. And he'd be like, no, this is what happened. I'm like, dude, it was my fucking life. I know. And I just got tired of the arguing and I didn't want to argue. So my dad and I just kind of stayed clear of each other. My children don't really know him. And so before he passed away, one of the things I did was I sat and I said to him, I'm like, Daddy, did you ignore me and stay away from me and my brothers because Papaw, which was my grandfather and his dad, was it because Papaw was so mean to you and you were afraid of repeating his mistakes? And my father got teary-eyed. That man does not get teary-eyed very often. I don't think I've ever seen him cry, but he got tears in his eyes, and all he could do was take his first finger and put it on his nose right on the nose. He wouldn't say anything else, but that gave me the peace that I needed before he passed away, that he had abandoned me because he didn't want to be an asshole dad like my grandfather was to him. And I know that sounds weird, but it really did give me peace. It helped me to understand why my dad was who my dad was. But my papa was amazing to me. Hugged me, loved me. I mean, I had an amazing relationship with him. And he's the one I told the story about in my last episode, who came to me to say goodbye to me and sat on my bed. I mean, this man was literally like my life. He was everything to me. So it's hard for me sometimes to reconcile in my head this amazing grandfather that I had, but the shit dad that my dad had gotten out of him. And this is how it gets passed down through families. We have all of this karmic DNA that gets passed down in your RNA. So in your DNA, and we'll talk about epigenetics in another episode, but you get your karmic DNA, which is your RNA. It's called junk DNA. It gets passed down. And those are the epigenetics and the family karma that gets passed down. And you have to start clearing this shit. So if you're in the middle of the shit and you're like, why is this always happening to me? Why is this pattern established in my family? Guess what? Tag you're it. You are the one who is supposed to be healing your family. You are the one who is supposed to be saying, I forgive you. You are the one who is supposed to be doing all the fucking work. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks horribly. But what are you going to do? This is what you signed up for, right? When you agreed to come down here and be a human on this earth, you decided to come down here into that family. We choose these shit families that we are born into. We choose our situations. And I know that seems hard to believe. And I know people are going to be like, fuck you, I did not choose this. And I'll tell you, yeah, you did. So if you drop as a listener, I get it, but I'll walk you through all of this. So this is also the same reason why, in my family, on my mom's side, mothers and daughters do not get along. So my grandmother was not really talking to her mother when she passed away. My mom definitely was not talking to my grandmother when she passed away. And my mom and I went through 10 years where we didn't talk either. And, 4 years ago, I knew that I needed to get in touch with my mom because I needed to forgive the things that happened to me when I was a child. And I knew that I needed to let those go because I was holding on to some anger and it wasn't helping anybody. It sure as hell wasn't helping her or my children or anybody else. And so I talked to my mom 4 years ago and we have literally become almost inseparable. I love my mother so much and we have forgiven each other, right? There were things that I did to her that I did out of anger, things I would have said, things that I would have behaved. And she's, shared them with me and I've apologized to her. Mom, I'm so sorry. These are the things that I did. And I did this because of this. It doesn't excuse it, but this is where my anger came from. And so she has been, and I don't mean this in the Southern way at all, but bless her heart, she has literally allowed me to sit there and share with her all of my deep-seated, difficult pain from when I was a child and shared some of my most difficult experiences with her, many of which she doesn't even remember. And so me being able to explain it to her and give her details about things, she looked at me and she said, honest to God, I don't remember this, but clearly you do. And because of that, I want to apologize. And that is what makes the difference. That is what makes this so much more powerful of a healing in our relationship. And I am so grateful that my children have chosen to be different parents than me. And all of this is important about being your authentic self, right? Because you need to start looking at what, from all of these pieces of rope, right? All the strings that have made us the humans that we are. What came from mom? What came from dad? And are you able to sit and methodically look at it and go, okay, What do I know about my grandmother and what my grandmother would have done to my father, what my grandfather would have done to my father? What pieces of him being who he is came from them? What pieces did he not heal but got passed on to me? And then we have to look at the same thing from mom's side. What happened with grandma and grandpa on mom's side, the way that they treated her, and what did she pass on to me? And what am I passing on to my own children? That was a really difficult one for me because I would have sworn to you that I was absolutely, completely, totally different than my mother. And I really was not. I did stop some very important things from happening to my children that happened to me. And I'm glad that I did that. However, there was so many other things that I did that I deeply regret. And I've had to tell my children, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And I'm glad that I'm doing it now while they're younger and I'm younger, right? I'm in my 50s, but my mom is in her late 70s. And it's just important to have these conversations. So being able to figure out who you are from their trauma. Who are you separate from your upbringing? And many of us don't know who we are separate from our upbringing because we identify as the person we were brought up as. We identify with our trauma. We wear it as a comfortable blanket around our bodies because it's just what we know. It wasn't until I got on my spiritual journey that I realized, hey, there really are some people who have mom and dad who've been together and raised them their whole lives. I didn't have that. And, my husband hasn't had that. And many of my friends have all been divorced. So, as an adult, I've been able to start asking questions and I can realize that not everybody has the same kind of tumultuous upbringing that I had. And I just didn't know any better. I really didn't know any better. But now I do. And now I can say, okay, I don't need to participate in this. I can just be who I choose to be. So one of the things that I would highly recommend to you is sit down with a piece of paper and make a column, mom's side, dad's side, and write down the things that you are positive. This is what I got from mom and this is what I got from dad. And then just start asking yourself questions, right? And it is, okay, do I repeat this? These are things that I hated that my dad did to me. Do I repeat them with my own family? Do I repeat them with other people? And this is where you have to get blunt fucking honest with yourself. You have to look at and be honest and say, yeah, I am repeating some of this shit. Because if you're going to lie to yourself, you're never going to finish healing. You are never going to get through what you need to get through. We are down here on this earth, on these soul contracts, to karmically heal what we came down here to heal. And I came down here to help heal my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family. And so there's had to be a whole lot of forgiveness. Now, originally, I only thought that I had to work with my mom's side of the family. And only now that I am older am I realizing I have to work on the abandonment and some of the other stuff with my dad. Because just my mom has been so present for so long and my anger with her has been so present for so long that I didn't realize I was also mad at my dad. And now that my dad's dead, it's kind of hard to do. But I am a medium, so I can talk to him and we do work some things out. And he's working out some of his own junk, right, when he goes over there. But writing this list and looking at it and going, okay, this is what I got from mom. This is what I got from dad. And just being honest with yourself. Don't pull any wool over your own eyes. Don't bullshit yourself. Just be honest and sit with, am I repeating any of these behaviors? Because if you are, you need to start looking at them and going, okay, I didn't like it when it was done to me. And now I need to look at healing this within myself. Where does my healing come from? What do I need to do? And there's always something that you can do about it, right? And I have a lot of clients who will say to me, well, but I don't have money for this and I don't have money for that. Listen, there are so many free resources out there. You don't have to go to therapy. I suggest everybody go to therapy. I have a lot of clients in my spiritual life coaching who also go to therapists. So they see a therapist and they talk to me at the same time because I'm working on the spiritual side, right? I'm not the therapist who's going to sit you down on the couch and say all whatever a therapist would say, because it's not my gig, but I'm looking at it spiritually. And so I can look at my life and go, okay, so what have I been through that spiritually, what did I need to work with? And for me, it was recognizing the pattern between mothers and daughters, and I am here to karmically work on that. And so it is important to me that I continue to look at how I treat my daughters, look at how I speak to them, look at how I participate in their lives, and make sure that I am not begging out or claiming victim or doing any of the crap that my mom would have done when she was younger, because she's not that person now, right? My mom is owning her stuff and talking to me about it, and it has truly been an amazing and healing experience for me. But the only way to truly step out and be authentically who you are meant to be is to look at the trauma that was put on you and how do you start healing that and letting it go. It's going to be different for every single person. You know, you can get into coaching programs, you can do all of these things, but if the program is something that is set in stone, these are the steps that we walk through, that's bullshit, and I'll tell you why. You are what I call a unique or unique, right? Unique. You are different than everybody else. Even identical twins are different from the other in the way that they feel, their experiences, their traumas. They're not responding to things the same. So even if you have a sibling who's been through the same situations as you, they're going to look at them differently than you do. And this is why you have to figure out, what are you participating in? What are you ready to let go of? And nobody can help you with that but you. I mean, you can go to a therapist and they can help point it out. A life coach can help point out things to you. The most important thing is that you agree to start working on yourself. The world that we are in right now is so divisive with what's going on with the Trump administration. This world is so divisive right now, and we need to agree that we can coexist in the same world and love someone and be different than them. And I don't mean that we have to allow people who are willing to cross boundaries and treat us like shit in our lives. I don't mean that at all. What I do mean is loving them as a human being. Okay, you're a human. I see you. I acknowledge you. You're allowed to your opinion. I'm allowed to mine. And you can do it way over there, off in the distance, so that I don't have to feel it. But more than anything, that means that all these people who have voted for Trump and all these people who are supporting the Make America White Again are living in fear. Every single one of those people are living in fear. And I refuse to live in fear. I am not afraid. The way that Black people have been treated in this world has been injustice. The way that anyone of color has been treated in America has been an injustice. The way that Indigenous people are treated is disgusting. And if we came from a place as a country that we could love each other for our differences, right? We love each other for who they are. Trans people, trans women, trans men, if you are listening to me, I love you. I am a safe person for you to come and sit with and to talk to. I don't need to understand why you identify as a woman. I don't need to understand why you identify as a man. My job is to love you for who you are. That's my job as a human. And if we could have more people just love, that would change everything, in my opinion. However, all these people who want the world to work, want the U.S. to work in this different way, they're leading from a place of fear. They don't understand trans men, they fear it. They don't understand trans women, they fear it. And we all know, we've all seen the studies. We know there's no trans person in the bathroom who's going to hurt anyone, right? It's just, the statistics are so low. It's ridiculous. So we know that it's just from a place of fear. When we don't understand something, we fear it. And I was very much the same way when I was younger. I didn't understand trans people when I was younger. Not at all. I get it now. And what I get is I don't have to understand it. That's what I mean. I don't have to understand why someone wants to identify differently than the way they were born. It is none of my fucking business. What is my business is to love that person for exactly who they are and where they are in their life and not question them. If they say, hey, listen, I'm open. If you want to ask me questions, ask me. Because here's the truth. When we leave this world, you're not male or female. Bing! Big shocker. You're not a male or a female when you leave this earth. You're just a soul. You are just a soul. And if you believe in reincarnation, you have been more than just the gender you are right now. You have been men. You have been women. And, chances are in another lifetime, you may have been transgender too. And so we need to look at, where do we come from, right? Authentically, who are you? This is why we need to come from a place of love. Love people for who they are. Love them for where they're at. It doesn't mean that you have to understand it, because it's none of your fucking business. If it's not happening in your house, it is none of your business. And if you have a child who is transgender, if you have a child who is LGBTQ, and you are not loving them unconditionally, you are fucking up as a parent. I am telling you right now. If you have a friend who is transgender and you don't understand it and you're not talking to them, you are fucking up as a human being. It doesn't mean that you have to understand it. You can say to them, I don't understand this, but I'm going to love you. And if you're okay with it, let me ask you questions. But you can't ask them in a judgmental way. You don't get to judge, right? You've been judged. Did you like it? No. So you don't get to do that. But this is how we discover who we are authentically. We start to pull away mom's trauma, dad's trauma, grandparents' trauma. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Sit down with your piece of paper. Write it down. Learn to love. And if you are listening to this and you understand what prayer is and you understand what energy healing is, prayers and energy healing are no different. They're the exact same thing. Because when you're saying a prayer, you're asking for something. If you're asking for healing for someone, dear God, please heal XYZ. I want them to feel better. I don't want them to feel miserable. That is energy healing. Period. End of discussion. If you know someone who is of color, if you know someone who is indigenous and they're of color, if you know someone who is LGBTQ, if you know someone who is transgender, sit. Pray for them to feel loved. Pray for them to have an easier life. If you don't know someone, send love out there. Dear God, or whoever your higher power is, please allow love to surround these people. I want to be loved for authentically who I am. So I'm going to send out authentic love to whoever needs to hear it and whoever wants it, because I want to be authentically loved. Therefore, I am going to love openly and authentically and unconditionally as well. And you watch and see how your world starts to shift and change. If you would like to book a session with me, head over to marialeggett.com. You can sign up for spiritual mentoring or spiritual life coach, whatever you want to call it. I teach mediumship. I have a great class called Ignite Your Intuition that will help you to set off your mediumship journey and learning how to work with your intuition. I would love to work with you. Give me a call or sign up and book a reading. May you have the day you deserve.